My parents stole my college fund, so I made sure they paid for it. I found out my parents stole my college fund a month before I was supposed to leave for school. They had been saving money in a separate account for years. Money from my grandparents, from my part-time jobs, even gifts from family members. It was meant to cover my tuition, housing, and expenses so I wouldn't have to take out massive loans. Or so I thought. One day I logged into the account just to double check everything before finalizing my tuition payment. But instead of the tens of thousands that should have been there, the balance was $362. At first, I thought there was a mistake. I called my bank thinking there was some kind of fraud, but no. Every transaction was legal. Every withdrawal had been made by my parents. When I confronted them, they didn't even look guilty. "Oh, we needed the money," my mom said, completely nonchalantly. "For what?" I yelled. They started making excuses. My dad had some business investments that fell through. My mom had some medical bills, which I later found out were for cosmetic procedures. But the cherry on top, they had just bought a brand new car for my mom. I was shaking with anger. "So you're telling me I have no money for school, but mom gets a brand new SUV. You can take out loans," my dad said, waving me off. "You'll be fine. It's not like we did this to hurt you." That's when I decided they were going to pay. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. Instead, I gathered proof, screenshots of the account withdrawals, receipts for their purchases, everything. Then I contacted my grandparents. See, my grandparents had given a lot of money to that college fund. They assumed it was locked away safely. When I showed them the truth, they were livid. My grandfather, a retired lawyer, immediately started taking action. Within a week, my parents were served with a lawsuit for misusing the funds. My grandparents cut them off completely and even told other relatives what they had done. My parents' reputation in the family was ruined, and the best part, they were forced to sell the car and remortgage their house to pay back what they had stolen. As for me, my grandparents helped me get to college after all, but my parents, I haven't spoken to them since, and I don't plan to.
My sister ruined my wedding. So I ruined her relationship. My wedding day was supposed to be perfect. It wasn't fancy, but it was everything I wanted. Small, intimate, with close friends and family. The one person I wasn't thrilled about inviting, my sister, Michelle. Michelle has always been jealous of me. Growing up, she competed with me over everything. Grades, clothes, even friends. But I never thought she'd go this far. The morning of my wedding, she showed up in a white dress. Not just any white dress, a full-length lace-covered gown that looked like it came straight out of a bridal boutique. I was speechless. I pulled her aside and said, "Are you kidding me? You're wearing a wedding dress to my wedding?" She laughed. "Oh, relax. It's just a dress. You don't own the color white." My mom, of course, defended her. "Let it go. She just wants to look nice." But it didn't stop there. During the ceremony, she kept sniffling loudly, as if she were crying, trying to get attention. When it was time for my husband and me to say our vows, she faked a fainting spell and had to be helped to a chair. Then, during the reception, she grabbed the microphone before the speeches and said, "I just want to say, I always thought I'd be the one getting married first, but I guess we all have to make compromises in life." Everyone went silent. I wanted to scream, but instead, I smiled, because I had a plan. See, Michelle had been secretly seeing a guy on the side, even though she was in a serious relationship with her fiancé, Dan. And guess who I saw that morning texting her side piece about meeting up later? Yep, Michelle. So after she humiliated me on my wedding day, I decided to return the favor. A week later, I casually mentioned to Dan that Michelle had been so distracted at my wedding and kept sneaking off to text someone. He got suspicious and did some digging. Turns out, she had been cheating on him for months. He dumped her immediately. Now, Michelle is single, humiliated, and blocked by half the family for what she did at my wedding, and I had the best honeymoon ever.
My dad tried to take my house, so I took his. A few years ago, I bought my first house. It was a huge accomplishment for me. I had worked multiple jobs, saved every penny, and finally had a place to call my own. But my dad, he saw it as his new opportunity. See, my dad has never been financially responsible. He's constantly in debt, always spending money on things he doesn't need, and expects everyone else to bail him out. So when I bought my house, he immediately started acting like it belonged to him. At first, it was little things. He'd stop by unannounced. He'd bring his friends over to hang out without asking. One time I came home to find him watching TV in my living room, drinking a beer like he lived there. Then he started making comments like, "You don't really need all this space. I should move in." I shut that down fast. I told him he could visit, but he was not moving in. But he didn't listen. One day while I was at work, he showed up with a moving truck. He had brought his furniture, his clothes, and even his dog. He called me, acting like it was a done deal. "I'm moving in," he said casually. Figured it was time. I told him to get out immediately. When I got home, he was still there. He claimed he had tenants' rights now because he had moved in. That's when I took action. I called the police for trespassing and had them remove him. Then I went a step further. I contacted his landlord, who was about to evict him for not paying rent, and let him know my dad had tried to illegally take over my house. Guess who suddenly had nowhere to live? I don't feel bad. He tried to steal my home. Now he doesn't have one. My brother stole my car, so I made sure he could never drive again. My younger brother Jake has always been the golden child. Our parents let him get away with everything, skipping school, wrecking their car twice, and never facing any real consequences. Meanwhile, I had to work for everything I had. One of the things I worked hardest for was my car. I saved up for years to buy it. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, and I took care of it. Jake, of course, felt entitled to it. "Come on," he'd say, "you barely drive it. Let me take it out." I always said no, not only because I didn't trust him, but because he didn't even have a license. But one night I woke up to an empty driveway. My car was gone. I checked my phone, no messages. Panic set in. Then I saw it. A text from Jake. "Borrowed the car. Chill out." I was furious. I called him, but he ignored me. So I did the next best thing. I called the police and reported my car stolen. An hour later, I got another call, this time from the police. Jake had been pulled over. Since he had no license, no registration, because it was my car, and I had already reported it stolen, the cops weren't playing around. They arrested him on the spot. When I got to the station, my parents were already there, trying to convince the cops it was a misunderstanding. But I refused to back down. I told them, he stole my car. He deserves the consequences. The cops charged him with driving without a license, vehicle theft, and reckless driving. He ended up with a suspended license before he even got one. Now he won't be able to legally drive for years. My parents, they blamed me. But I don't care. He wanted to steal my car. Now he can't even drive legally.
My aunt tried to steal my grandma's house, so I took everything from her. My grandma was one of the sweetest people ever. She raised me when my parents weren't around, and I loved her like a second mother. When she passed away, she left her house to me. Not my mom, not my uncle, but me. She knew I took care of her in her last years while the rest of the family barely visited. But my aunt, Linda, she wasn't having it. The moment she found out Grandma left me the house, she flipped out. She didn't mean that, she claimed. She must have been confused. No, she wasn't. Grandma was completely clear-headed when she made her will. Linda tried everything to get the house from me. She offered me $10,000 to sign it over. It was worth way more than that. When I refused, she tried to challenge the will, but that failed too. One day, I came home to find the locks changed. Linda had moved into my house while I was at work. She left a note on the door. "You don't deserve this house. Consider this justice." I called the police immediately, but because of squatters' rights, I had to go through the legal process. So I got petty too. Linda had a ton of unpaid debts, credit card bills, loans, even unpaid parking tickets. I tipped off debt collectors about where she was living. Within a week, she was drowning in collection notices and had no way to fight them. The final blow? I filed a formal eviction notice. She refused to leave, so the sheriff dragged her out. Now she's homeless, broke, and completely cut off from the family. And my grandma's house? It's exactly where she wanted it to be, with me. And my grandma's house? It's exactly where she wanted it to be, with me.
Thanks for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.